This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guests are the one and only Bam Bam Manny Lara and the other one and only little guy Ben. We're here coming at you
live.
So we don't have a guest today. Remember, we said like a while back we wanted to kind of just do these recaps every like several episodes because we get a lot of information, a lot of cool things that we don't get to do when we have guests on. But we have had, off of the top of my head, I should pull it up on my phone, but I'm just gonna free roll it.
Casey.
We had a UFC fighter, or not UFC, just a MMA fighter, Bear. Then we had Casey, who is a financial wealth advisor slash business owner
planner.
slash planner. We have my boy Alex DeHue, owns a jiu-jitsu gym. He just competed at Worlds.
I saw that,
which was dope.
Yeah.
Then we've had Andrew Walsh, who's Mr. Mindset guy and very high on life and apparently an overachiever. Then we have had
No, that was it.
is that it? Did I?
Yeah,
did
we
I
had
recap all of them?
Drew
Oh yeah,
Douglas.
Drew Douglas owns a junk removal company. He's awesome, doing some cool stuff. Was something that started as just an idea, and now he's doing well. And then Manny did one on his own, which was awesome. That's one of the great things about having a partnership. When one person can't do something, sometimes the others got to step in. So I appreciate you being able to cover for me.
I wish it was longer. I saw it and I was like, oh my goodness,
no, that's still
so
solid
short.
though. You got on and you did something. That's the point of when we stick to something, we do it. We got away from ourselves and had a couple weeks of not being able to record just because of life circumstances and stuff like that. But we really want to make sure we're doing this every week, like we said we're going to. It's just not just for like algorithms and all that other stuff, but when you commit to something, you got to do it, right? Like today, I have been running all over the place. Manny and I were supposed to meet at 1. It's 2:05, and I barely got here because I've just been going all over. But anyways, recap those episodes. I mean, there's so many to recap, but honestly, like the whole gist of what I want to say, and then maybe you can go, is just it's so crazy that something as simple as listening to someone's story like can do stuff to your own self if you let it, right? If you're open to receive. So my takeaway from a lot of their stories was they had an idea or they thought they wanted to do something, and then they kind of just figured out how to do it, right? Like Casey, she comes from the Air Force background, and she was learning and doing these things and was like, oh, I think I can do this, and I have a system that I think I can teach and create something that's better than what's out there. And without knowing how to do it, just essentially did it, right? Alex DeHue, same thing, right? He, out of the Marine Corps, was what he described as like that odd guy out because he was from Belgium, but here, but not. Like I could have sworn that guy was like Hawaiian or Brazilian or something, but same principle, right? Loved jiu-jitsu, fell in love with it, and then turned it into his career. Never owned a business or anything like that, but just figured it out, got a space, and now he's outgrown his space.
Just do it. Just get started.
Yeah. And then the same thing with Andrew, right? He got that job out of college, didn't know anything about the real estate industry, but just did it.
Yeah.
Like the whole theme for so many of these stories is just like, and I actually said it on Hidden House's TikTok the other day, which is ironic that we're recapping this. We were doing like a funny like spoof off of like, hey Ben, what's like a good business advice? And I literally said on the TikTok, I was like, just quit being lazy and do it. And sometimes sounding so harsh is what you need. And I need it for myself because I get in these ruts where I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that, or how am I going to do that, or no thank you. But I always come back to the basic principle of like, dude, just do it. And sometimes it's not even laziness. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's, you say it all the time, fear of failure or.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can paralyze you. It's like what I'm going through now. You think of all the bad things.
Yeah.
You're like, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to do that? And you let that hold you back, like, because you are scared to fail. But it sounds cheesy, like, oh, the biggest risk is not taking one at all. Like, but it's true.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be on your deathbed and be like, oh, I wish I would have tried this business venture. I wish I wouldn't have moved out of state. I wish like, there's all these wishes, and to recap, at least for me, like what I got from all the episodes was, the one thing that I felt they all had in common, not that we want something in common, but the one thing I felt they had in common was that they all had someone in their lives, whether it was a significant other or someone else, that pushed them, that believed in them. And that's what kind of helped them get over that hump. Like Drew said, when he was in school and college and football, no coach ever really gave him a shot. But then he started getting someone that owned a business to say, hey, man, I think you could do this. And that kind of propelled him, for Andrew, coaches, and then his wife believing in him. And Casey had that friend that was like, hey, you should start this. No, you should do it. And so I think all these people, having someone in your corner that believes in you, whether it's a friend, a significant other, goes such a long way. Because I think as humans, we want to be not just accepted, but we want to be part of community. We want that in our lives, and not that you need to live for other people's acceptance, but being part of a community helps, at least for me, helps with ideas, helps kind of get remotivated, because it's easy, like you were saying, to kind of fall into that rut. Like you told me something off air, and then we talked last week too, and you were just like, man, you're like, just to be real, you're like, you lag, like you're talented, but you lag. And I was like, oh crap, okay, yeah, no, like I'm getting comfortable, and it takes, I think, a friend to say that, to be like, hey man, look, like you're good at what you do, you're being lazy.
Yeah.
Like, get off your butt, go do something.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where it's hard to hear, right? Like I have to have people tell me that stuff sometimes. And because obviously, like, at the end of the day, you're not perfect. I don't care what all these freaking motivational guys try to say and build you up on their hype. Like I said it last week with
Life
Andrew.
coaches.
I was like, dude, at the end of the day, everyone falls into some sort of like a rut, right? Whether it's even just like a little blip. Like all these people try to always make it seem like they're on 24/7. You're full of crap. And I will tell any one of you, you're full of crap.
For sure.
We're humans, right? We're not designed to go high drive 24/7.
No.
We need time to rest. We need time to recalibrate. We need time to refresh. And so like when I was talking to you, I've learned we've gotten older.
Yeah.
To say it in a way that's obviously out of a place of like love versus just being like, what are you doing? Like you're an idiot, right? Like
you could say that too. It's
yeah, but there's a time and place for it.
I think we're good.
No, I just think it's one of those things where you need to hear it sometimes, right? And like, so when I was telling you that last week, I was like, dude, I think I need to tell you this, because if I don't tell you this, who's going to, right? Like the closest people to you should tell you that. And if they're not, then they're letting you fail yourself.
They're enabling.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what I went through when I was dealing with my PTSD, actually.
Yeah.
Was everyone was enabling me to do all the dumb things I was doing. But in reality, I should have had one person at least be like,
no one called you out. Like even in like in a loving way.
My dad did. At one point, I honestly don't even know if he remembers what he did, but it was like one of those things that kind of like it's worse than like when your dad's mad. Like I was a 23-year-old man. Like, what was my dad? I'm mad at you. Like, you're punished. No, right?
You're grounded.
But what he said, something along the lines, and like I said, I'll never forget it. Like, kind of just like almost like how much he loved me, but like that's not me, and he knew that I wasn't being me type thing.
Yeah.
And it was like the way he said it, I was like, oh shoot, like I've never disappointed my dad, like ever. Up until that time, right? Like, like growing up, obviously you do dumb things.
Sure.
Like when I thought I was a man, I like challenged him type thing, and he put me in my place real quick. that kind of stuff. But I had never like had that type of a thing. But other than that, like no one necessarily called me out because during that phase of my life, like I would have just punched you in your face. Like if you would have said, like if I would have said, if you would say what I said to you last week, that time of my life, I would have just been like, I would have hit you.
I would have moved.
Which is so dumb though. You know what I mean?
You got a good head movement.
Yeah, just dodge it. But like all in all, like it's just sometimes it takes somebody to give you a gentle nudge. And that's a common theme too, right?
Yeah.
Like someone usually, whether it was themselves, the internal self talking, where it was like nudging them to like make that move, or whether it was a friend, a loved one, whatever, a lot of people need that gentle nudge, right? Hendry says it all the time when he says, like essentially like the best coaches out there will create some sort of tension within the individual, because without tension, there's no movement, right?
Yeah.
So he'll create some sort of tension, whether it's using, you know, your life circumstances, right? So what I was saying to you about just like, man, you gotta put your talents aside, but you have to have like the self-start, the self-drive, the self-push. Hendry will use that motivation and that tension to cause some type of momentum. So it's something that I've always remembered, like when I'm trying to talk to someone, it's how can I create some sort of tension within this person in hopes of creating momentum?
Yeah.
Not tension just to be a jerk, but creating some sort of tension to push them into forward motion, right?
Yeah.
Because without tension, there's no momentum.
I like the going back to what you were saying about people getting like a rut. I like what Andrew talked about when he's like, hey, you know, I in the morning, like getting up and starting your day off right.
Yeah.
And I think I turned it into such a habit where I just get up and read like the verse of the day, but I just read it. I don't take it in. I just read it. I'm like, oh, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Cool. All right, let's go brush my teeth and get ready for the day. Instead of being like really believing that and really dissecting it, even if it's for 5 minutes, you know. And I think to go back to like getting in a rut, I think sometimes it's not laziness. Like people don't necessarily have like a laziness about them where they're not doing anything. Maybe they're doing too much and not focusing on what's important. You know, they're distracted by other things. Like I was talking about it. I kind of touched on it on last week's episode where I was like, you know, I'm coaching, I'm doing the podcast, I'm trying to run my business. Like that in itself is probably too much because I still have to be dad and husband and friend, and I can't be all those other things. Like and it's my own fault. Like my friendships have, since becoming a father and more of like a family man, they've I don't even know what they've suffered, I guess. Like they're not, and it's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends and grab a beer every day, but like it's I don't talk to as many people as I used to, and I don't have as many friendships, if you will. Yeah. You know, where it's like, because I'm always doing something. If I'm not here, I'm coaching, and if I'm not coaching, I'm with my family. And there's obviously seasons of that, but it's like I need to do a better job of scheduling those times and being intentional with like a buddy that I haven't seen in 2 years. You know, we talk here and there, but I haven't seen you. Like my buddy from high school came by to the game on Friday. And I just said hi to him, and it was so awesome to see him. But we didn't like, he was like, oh, let's get together. I'm like, yeah, we need to get together. You know, let's just go have lunch sometime and go get a sandwich or something. And I think that matters a ton. And so I think for people that maybe get stuck in that rut, it's like it doesn't have to just be laziness. Like, oh, I don't want to get up and do anything today. It could be that you're doing too much and you're distracting yourself from things that matter. Like I probably shouldn't be coaching. Well, if I spend more time on the podcast or on my business, it's obviously going to do better. Yeah. Because I'm spending more time on it.
Well, you just get stuck in like the daily monotonousness of like things that you're doing. Yeah. And it sometimes can act as like its own little quicksand, right? Versus if you were just you already said it. It all comes to intentionality with what we choose to spend our time on. You know, like I used to be like a yes guy, and I would say yes to everything, especially like church stuff, serving at the church.
Because that's right. It's not like a bad thing.
Yeah, I would
It's a
always
good
just
thing.
be like the yes guy though.
Yeah.
And the one thing that COVID really like did for me was it taught me to start saying no. And it was honestly the best thing that ever happened, right? Like
Yeah.
I learned how to say no, but I was saying no so I could be intentional with something else.
Yeah.
But intentionality is honestly like as we get older and as you progress in career and personal life and finding time to be with friends or do hobbies, all that stuff, like intentionality is a tool. It's something that has to be learned. It's not
100%.
easy. You have to learn how to be intentional, and people throw that freaking term out so much. Oh yeah, just be intentional. Well, a lot of the time you're just throwing out a term that you don't even really know what intentional means.
Yeah.
Like you're being intentional by saying intentional.
I don't even know the definition.
But it's like, like when you're being intentional with someone, it's choosing to be like so specific in whatever the subject or the term or person or idea is. You're choosing to literally have a hyper focused idea onto one thing.
Intentional, done on purpose, deliberate.
What did I just say? Hyper focused idea. Dang. But like honestly, like I used to be like, oh yeah, I'm just intentional when I really wasn't. I just was doing whatever, right? But as I've grown as a business owner, I have learned to be intentional. And it's a tool that you have to teach yourself, just like anything else, right? Like you're not just patient because of no reason. You're patient because you have to train yourself to be patient.
Yeah. Well, there's gonna be moments where you have to choose to be patient.
For sure.
It's
and the
not
same
just
thing
gonna
is like
happen.
intentionality. You have to choose to be intentional.
Yeah.
So if I'm being intentional with spending time with my wife, right? I need to say no to something else to make time for that.
Yeah. That'll take away from
exactly. So the intentionality is last night, prime example, last night, my daughter has been kind of having a more of a rough time recently. We think she knows, obviously. Well, she knows baby's coming, so I think she knows her time is going to be restricted a little bit. So I make dinner, I'm getting ready to go to jiu-jitsu, and she literally looks at me, sits on my lap, looks at me, she's like, Dada, can you please just stay tonight? And I was like, sweetheart, I haven't trained in a few days. Like, I need to go train. I'm trying to train before baby Walker gets here.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, but I just want to spend time with you too. And I'm like, dang, right? So to be intentional with my time with her, I had to be intentional in saying no to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I had just drank a pre-workout, literally like a hydration packet, like ready to go.
Just worked out with her.
I know. But she said that to me, and so I had to make that choice.
Yeah.
Do I be intentional with my time with my daughter, or do I be intentional with my time in training? And so it's a tool. I had to say no to one thing so I could be like hyper focused on spending time with my daughter.
But then how do you deal with saying no to jiu-jitsu? Because someone like me, I still deal with it to this day, where I'm like, man, I should go fight one more time, because the way my career ended, like I'm showing my kids that it's okay to quit. Yeah. And I want to be a better example for my kids.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with saying no
to something that I'm committed
to? Yeah, because you could easily be like, oh, well, no, if I go to jiu-jitsu, it's showing her that I'm committed to something and I'm doing it.
For sure.
So how do you deal with like, oh, no, I don't. I said no to that so I can spend time with you. So I guess it's a little bit.
It's a give and take.
Yeah, but it's.
The way I'm intentional with that is Tuesdays are not usually a training day for me.
Yeah, okay.
I was trying to get an extra training day in.
Okay.
Because of baby coming.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to be, showing my kids like it's okay to do something, like Tuesday's not a part of my quote unquote like scheduled training time that I've been intentional in putting into my calendar.
Yeah.
It's, Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturday mornings. Those are my days that I'm like, no, this is my schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not saying you can't flex on those. You can always be flexible, but when the kids get older, I could be like, hey, you put your big rocks in your calendar, and those aren't moved.
Yeah.
You put your little pebbles where it's easy to shift. And so that's kind of how I would work around that. But yeah, intentionality and ultimately, dude, like forfeiting something else to spend time with my family, well worth it, right?
Well, yeah, it's more important, obviously.
Yeah, especially when I recognize as a father that she's clearly trying to cope with some stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's the right thing to do. If I didn't do that, that wouldn't make me the father I want to be.
Yeah.
Right.
When
Like,
she's pursuing you. So it's,
and
you're
she's
answering that.
barely not even 4 years old yet. So it's like you
Yeah.
need to be showing like unconditional like love and
100%.
support. But my man, with that, I got to be intentionally
Yeah. Out of here.
yeah. But
Close us out, bro.
Yeah,
You opened it. Close us out.
that's true. That's true. Well, honestly, we say it all the time, but we'll continue to say it until we decide not to because we don't like it anymore. But we're appreciative for all the support that we get. Please continue to like it, share it, subscribe to it, repost it, ask us questions, tell your friends, family, whoever, the person you don't like to listen to us. This helps us to, like to continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
The more downloads and more views and more blah, 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 blah that you get, the more we can go after more sponsorships, which sponsorships enable us to keep doing all of the stuff that's in here.
Makes it easier to find sponsors.
For sure. But it's been great. We got some guests coming up. Well, hopefully, if we don't have an episode next week, it's because my wife had the baby and I couldn't get here.
Yeah.
But we should be good. On that note, Manny, you the man. Be intentional.
Love you, bro.
Love you, dude. I'm not saying what he says because that's his line. So
No,
go.
it's
You
no,
do it. No,
bro,
you do it.
you opened
You
it.
do
Close
it.
us out.
That's your line.
All right, guys. Remember that everything was impossible till someone did it.